Hello there, welcome to Blitz Transmissions. This is the Blitzcast number 83. I'm Tommy. Before we get into the content of this week's episode of the Blitzcast, as always, make sure to check out the laundry list of links that can be found in the description below. If you're an ARC Trooper in the Blitz Transmissions Patreon, you would have seen this podcast episode early. If you'd like access to early content, monthly giveaways, and other awesome benefits, the link to the Patreon is in the description below. Become an ARC Trooper for just $4.99 a month. If you want to support the YouTube channel directly, as that's where I post most of my content, you could also check out the Blitz Transmissions YouTube channel membership, Rancor Battalion. For just 99 cents a month, it gives you access to exclusive badges, priority replies in the comment section, exclusive emojis, and so much more. You can check that out. You could also find links to my merch, the Discord. If you're looking for merch, I've got stuff like this super cool Blitz Transmissions trucker hat. This one is in the white and heather gray colorway. I've also got, look at this, guys, I actually have stuff on hand. The 3-inch by 3-inch die-cut Blitz Transmissions sticker here. Ooh, and all kinds of cool stuff. Blitz Transmissions Armory, Discord, social media, all linked in the description below. Get into a couple housekeeping things here. Hope everyone's doing well. And but first, I want to talk about our weekly Bible verses. So this one's a pretty simple one. This comes from the book of Romans, chapter 8, verse 31. What shall we say about such wonderful things as these? If God is for us, who can ever be against us? Thank you, Book of Romans, and the Holy Bible app for that wonderful verse today. Happy Sunday. As of recording this, this should be coming out the same day as, the morning of me recording this. Technically, it's actually the afternoon that I'm recording this. We are going to be talking about a fun little subject. You probably would have seen it on the title of the podcast. But before we get into that, a couple housekeeping things. So first, go ahead, give me your tongue lashings in the comments. Give me the tongue lashings in the Discord. I said I was going to get back on track. Skipped the Blitzcast last week altogether. Honestly, it's been a light week. I've been working a lot of overtime. Some of it kind of fell into my lap, and if you're working in my job field, this is like the busy time of year, the busy season, especially if, where I live, it's like seasonal weather type thing. So for me, it's like you want to kind of seize the opportunity when it, falls into your lap. Hey, we need extra bodies, we need some overtime. All right, I'm gonna jump in. So I ended up working a lot, did some like 16-hour days, and because of that, I neglected to do a Blitzcast last week. Luckily, though, this is kind of the drought season of Star Wars content creation. I believe it was Star Wars Marshall. Shout out to Star Wars Marshall. I saw him post somewhere, I want to say on Instagram, kind of like, shout out to all the Star Wars creators out there. We've had a busy last couple months. I know the last couple months for me on Blitz Transmissions were huge, but the summertime is usually a bit of a dry spell in the terms of news and announcements. And then on top of that, too, it's one of the hardest times of the year to grow your social media. So, especially in like a niche like as small as Star Wars action figures in the grand scheme of the internet. So, I was kind of, had that on the mind, this past week. But I also wanted to talk about a couple little announcements. Guys, Vintage Collection Galactic Conquest is in full swing as of the release here. I believe we have 6 days left before submissions close. So we have our submissions window, which is ending on Saturday, June 20th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. So once it hits the stroke of midnight here on the East Coast and it becomes June 21st, this coming Sunday, the submissions will be closed. We'll have a brief time to count all the submissions, and then we'll create our actual tournament where you guys will be able to vote on, based on the submissions that were sent in by people. So if you want to submit your My 25 and get access to the link and, the template and everything so you can share it on social media, the links are in the description of this Blitzcast episode. You can also find the links to the Google form to submit and, the template and all that also on, what's it called? All my social media. What's it called? All the social media. Let's see. I think that was it. Oh, one other thing. Guys, if you're going to be in ICC-Con this coming weekend from June 19th through the 21st in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, you will see me there, because shout out to the fine folks at ICCCon. I got awarded a press badge for the second year in a row on Blitz Transmissions. So also shout out to the art by Mike Smith. This is super cool. Not Star Wars, but still super cool. Yeah, very honored. Thank you to the fine folks over at ICCCon for granting me a press badge. ICCCon is some of my favorite con vlog content to do throughout the year. It's a smaller show, big emphasis on Star Wars toys, Star Wars vintage toys. You guys will probably get to see some cool content throughout the weekend. I'm kind of figuring out how I want to set it up. As far as my content goes, I kind of want to do short form content throughout the weekend. I feel like this year I want to focus a lot more on covering the convention while also just enjoying the experience of being there. Whereas prior years, it's just such a frenzy. I feel like you're just going at a million miles an hour the entire day, every single day that you're there, and you're just, racing from one thing to the next. So I kind of want to spend more time at the actual convention this year and really give you a good idea of what you can see and what there is to do at ICCCon. Also, let me do a little sidebar here. If the audio cuts out or something, something's going on with my connection. I think my cord something's wrong with it, or the plug-in, the USB plug-in in the back of my computer tower. I don't know what the deal is, but so you'll see me there. I'll be mostly hanging out with my good friends 212 Hunter, obligatory 212 Hunter mention, as well as Skywalker Hendrix. So we'll be hanging out because 212 Hunter, if you didn't know, is selling almost his entire Star Wars collection. That's right, his collection that he's been amassing over the last over 6 years at this point, I want to say. He is getting rid of just about everything. So if you want to, I encourage you to come to the convention. We'll be hanging out at 212 Hunter's vendor booth. We also got a hotel room at the host hotel. We will be hanging out doing room sales. I'll be selling a few odds and ends from my collection as well, just things I'm ready to let go of and get rid of. I think Skywalker Hendrix might be as well. So it's going to be fun. Come hang out with us. We're not opposed to hanging out, going out to eat, doing fun things throughout the weekend. If you see us, don't hesitate. Don't be afraid to hang out. We're open books. We're open doors when it comes to that stuff. So it's going to be a good time. I know there's a bunch of other people that are coming to the convention as always. So, but mostly I'll be hanging out with 212 Hunter and Skywalker Hendrix. And of course, I'm very excited to see my friend Daryl DePriest once again. Daryl always has a great selection. I can't wait to buy up some Clone Wars toys from him as well. So, with that, I think that's all I have for you. Oh, also check out the latest episode of the After Action Figure Report, which dropped yesterday. As again, I'm planning to put this out the same day that I recorded it. It's a little bit, I always try to record things at least a day in advance, but with my schedule, also I've been neglecting some of my time I would spend recording because Jen and I have been watching through Attack on Titan. I've seen it multiple times through. Jen has never seen it before, and she expressed to me she wanted to watch it. And I was like, oh, cool. So we're already 2.5 seasons deep into Attack on Titan. So that's been a lot of fun to watch that with her and that she's actually into it. It's always fun to watch something with someone when they're actually into it the first time through, as opposed to you can tell they're kind of tuned out and stuff. But yeah, so with that, let's talk about our topic this week for the Blitzcast. So this topic, and you probably again spoiled, I guess, by the title of this Blitzcast episode, is it's okay for Star Wars to be fun. I think I've been seeing, Mandalorian and Grogu's been out for almost a month now. That's crazy to say. It's been, better part of 3 weeks. And I kind of am seeing a sentiment that's actually kind of evolving that I've kind of had difficulty articulating how I felt about it over the course of the last several years, and now it's kind of hit this point where I feel like I'm at a point where I can talk about it, and really be able to articulate my thoughts on it. This is going to be a pretty free-form discussion topic. This is also probably going to be, by the way, a shorter Blitzcast episode for the sake of time. I'm going to work right after I record this, so it's going to be up to Jen to post this later tonight. Shout out, Jen. So this is kind of where my head's at when it comes to this kind of stuff. it has to do with the Mandalorian and Grogu. So over the course of the Mandalorian and Grogu, you know, the lead up to the movie, it was rinse and repeat. We see this for years and years and years now. All these dude bros and you know, film bros and guys that call themselves, you know, consider themselves intellectuals in the film world. Just every time a new Star Wars project is coming, you hear the same, you know, dialogue over and over and over again. And it's become a very popular and mainstream opinion. Nah, I guess that's like the wrong way to put it. It's become a great opinion to have if you're looking to grow your social media. And it's kind of become this entire genre throughout all of hobbying and throughout all of pop culture to be this, like, I think of the anime character that, you know, sits leaned up against the brick wall and pushes his glasses up and, you know, he's too cool for too cool for all this. He's above it all. He sees through all the veil and the smoke and mirrors. That's really how I feel. Is there's this mentality of I'm too cool to just enjoy things at face value. I'm too intellectual to enjoy things at face value. And that's kind of, it's an attitude, you know, and if you have that attitude, it tends to translate to lots of clicks and likes and comments and dislikes and all over social media. It helps you to grow on social media. And what I've noticed is social media has changed so much, even in the last 5 years, really. Because I remember when I was in college, like, this is crazy to say that I pride myself on, you know, I'm in my mid-20s, but I sit there and I think about it. I took this class about social media. It was a very good college class. Like, I tend to be a person who, for the most part, I think that college is way overpriced. And I went to a private college, so, like, it was even more expensive. Thankfully, like, I was blessed enough to get a pretty substantial, like, academic scholarship for the college that I went to. But I tend to be of the opinion that unless it's, like, you know, things related to law or science or medicine or things like that, that there's a lot of things out there you really don't need a college degree for, and it's just a funnel that puts you into tens of thousands of dollars of debt for the next decade of your life. That's beside the point. I need to get away from that conversation. That's just my opinion, though, so I'm kind of like giving you context for where I'm coming from here. I think where I'm at is there's a lot of college classes that are like gen ed or, like, you know, requirements to graduate that I don't think are necessary classes, and especially when they don't pertain to your major. But one of them, I had to take some sort of elective just to get the credits, like, towards my degree. I took the social media class and it was really good, but that was like 5 years ago. And what I've noticed is that social media has changed and developed since then. Like, back then, when I took that class, it was like when TikTok, it was like 2021. So TikTok was like at its peak of its, you know, popularity. Like, it was still the kind of the newish thing, whereas, like, you know, most people know and understand what TikTok is now here in 2026. But back then it was this big, like, the big new thing and the big new platform. People were still figuring it out and figuring out how to, you know, profit off of it and get brand deals and things like that. So what happened was I had this class, and at the time it was a big talking point in that class was how short form content is damaging people's attention spans, and it's damaging people's ability to want to sit and listen to something for an extended period of time, or sit and want to watch something for an extended period of time. And what I've noticed since then is that social media has changed yet again, because while I believe there has always been a sense of, I guess, a lack of transparency, and to kind of go back to smoke and mirrors, it's kind of always been that way with social media, where you're only seeing an edited version of what the creator wants you to see, rather than authenticity and being genuine. That's why tend to really like podcasts because a lot of times it's an unedited conversation, and those natural pauses in conversation. Joe Rogan had a great podcast episode about this. I believe, I want to say Jordan Peterson did too, where like I haven't listened to either of them in like the episodes that I'm referencing in years and years, but they talked about how like that's cool about podcasts. You get those natural pauses in conversation, and it's not this super hyper edited, not a millisecond of dead space in the conversation or anything like that. And it gives you more of a natural feeling, like you're sitting in a room talking with people. That's why I like to do the Blitzcast, because I get to sit and talk. Really, it's my inner monologue just going. It's really more like a journal more than anything. But that's why I like listening to podcasts. It's like a conversation. So to that point, what I've noticed is that what I've noticed the change in social media is that creators are now doing things that they don't like. They're making content not because they're passionate about it and not because it's what they want to make. They're making it because, oh, it performs better. Oh, I'm doing this because that's what people want to see. And that's something that you definitely can't sustain over an extended period of time. But something I've also noticed is like there's a lot of people following this trend right now, whether it's on short form content or long form content. And shout out to Daniel East 1000 on Instagram. He made like a satirical post about a lot of the current short form social media trends. And that's what they are. They're trends. And that the things that people are doing to get the clicks and grow their audience now isn't really sustaining an audience. You're just getting a lot of followers, but there's no community aspect to it. And so what's happening is all the things that are trending now, give it a year, give it 18 months at most, and it'll all look completely different again. And social media changes so rapidly, between the companies changing what works in the algorithm to, people in the creators finding something new that, a way to cheat the system or something like that. It's always evolving, and it's evolving rapidly. So what I've noticed is that having certain buzzwords and catchphrases and things in your social media content tends to get you a lot more followers. And that's what I've noticed with this dialogue and this narrative in social media, this intellectual, highbrow, film bro kind of narrative in social media, is that everything needs to be dark and gritty and intellectual, and everything is meant to be, and what I've noticed too, look at all the people that make this kind of content. It is mostly guys in their 20s and 30s, sometimes older, that are either single or live a very easy life and love to just tell everyone, how that everything should be dark and gritty and intellectual, and nothing's allowed to just be fun, and if it is, it's slop and it's for kids and blah blah blah. And I've talked about this on the Blitzcast before, so I'm not going to make this like a whole point. But what I've noticed is it tends to be the people who have experienced the least struggle in their lives who have these opinions. But what I've noticed now with social media is that now that narrative is what's trending. Now that narrative is what gets you the most clicks. So now even people that have experienced struggle and people that I've historically said, don't jump on this bandwagon, are jumping on the bandwagon because they are focused. Their goal is not the passion. It's not what they care about. It's the thing that they care about is growing the numbers. They become addicted to the numbers. And the numbers, Mason, what do they mean? Let me know if you get that reference. It's become a game. Social media has become a numbers game. And we also are in a world now in the mid-2020s where brands are looking at social media. They're called influencers, content creators, whatever you want to call them. And a lot of times they're not looking any deeper for brand deals than the numbers. If you're the biggest, you're going to get brand deals. You're going to get noticed. And it doesn't really matter if your passion is authentic. It doesn't really matter if you even care to cover the brand deals if they send you stuff for free. A lot of times these creators, these influencers will be very half-assed in the way that they cover it. And in doing that,
it doesn't matter because the brand that sent them the product is thinking it doesn't matter. They have a lot of followers, so it's going to be exposed to more people. And then stack on top of that the way that short form content is dominating the social media world right now. It has completely thrown everything on its head. What I foresee happening, though, is a pendulum. We are at one end of the pendulum right now, and it's going to swing back. That's how most of these things work. It sways back and forth, and we go too extreme in one direction, and then we swing back, we go too extreme in the other direction, and we're constantly fighting for this balance in the middle. I and many other people have become pretty, I guess, tired of short form content. I've become very bored with it. It's a lot of the same, and what I've noticed is it's very plagued now with the trend following, and everybody's content looks and behaves exactly the same way. It's just the sound of the person's voice is a little bit different because it's monkey see, monkey do. People look and they see something and, oh, that's getting a lot of views. I'm going to take this idea and literally copy and paste it onto my own page, and then they also in turn will get lots of views. I just don't want to grow my social media like that. I could totally do that. I know that I could do that, but I would rather put time and effort into my passion, because that's why I do social media, is the passion, as opposed to just growing the social media numbers. Of course, it's an underlying objective of being on social media, being a content creator, building a brand, doing all of those things. I would be lying to you if I said that Blitz Transmissions, like, one of my goals for Blitz Transmissions wasn't to grow the audience. I'd be lying to you. I'd be dishonest, because that is what I'm doing. That is why there's a logo and a mascot and a brand and custom emojis and a Patreon and merch and all of these things. I'm seeking to grow an audience with an identity of Blitz Transmissions, but at the same time, there are just certain lines I won't cross, and it's when I'm making content for the sake of growing numbers, and my primary objective isn't my passion, that's when I know that I need to take a step back and that I need to reevaluate why I'm doing what I'm doing. All this to say, The Mandalorian and Grogu, the new trend that I'm seeing is, it was the usual. Oh, hate on it. It's going to be slop. Don't go watch it. It sucks. Blah, blah, blah. It's going to be stupid. It's just an extended episode of The Mandalorian. Now we get into the movie's been out for a few weeks, and I'm now seeing it. They pop up in my recommended. Hundreds of thousands of views. And again, this is kind of another thing. It's all trends. And I'm not saying don't follow what's working, but what I am saying is make it your own, because what I'm seeing a lot of right now is everything's just a clone of itself. Everything is just cloner. I should like that. But I'm just seeing it. It's all the same. It's just every thumbnail is just some low quality picture with one or two big words and a red arrow. Every title is a clickbait like, this can't be real. Oh, I can't believe they said this, ... And you go and you click on the video, and then you sit and you watch the video, and now the new thing is also engagement baiting, which is, for the unks watching the Blitzcast, rage baiting is probably a term that you've heard of by now. Rage baiting is where, once again, we go back to the social media objective not being making content that people want to engage with. You're making people angry. You're saying inflammatory things on purpose so that people will go and comment, taking you by, they'll take you seriously, or they don't understand that you're being satirical, and they'll comment. Therefore, they have engaged with your video, and that is going to further push your video. I'm talking about YouTube specifically in the algorithm, but the same general concept also works for TikTok, Instagram, you name it. Moving right along to, you get now what I would call engagement baiting, which is not necessarily rage baiting. You're just trying to pull on people's heartstrings, not just on the angry spectrum, but also maybe through sadness or happiness or something else. You're trying to get people to comment and engage with your video, to push your video in the algorithm, to get those follower numbers up. None of that is going to equate to a community that wants to follow you and pay attention to what you're posting. It's just, oh, that was funny, I'll give this guy a follow. Oh man, this guy's rage baiting. Oh, I'll give him a follow. That's all it becomes. So what I've noticed with The Mandalorian and Grogu is I'm seeing all these videos pop up. I'm not doing a video essay on The Mandalorian and Grogu, ... I'm not going to talk about Mando and Grogu. Here's why, ... And it's just like a thumbnail, and it'll just be a picture, a screenshot of Mando and Grogu with the text, the big text partially behind Mando's head, because that's how all the thumbnails look nowadays. And it's just, I'm done, ... This sucks, ... And and then you click on the video, and they don't even say anything. It's just to get you to engage with the video. Engagement bait. So what I'm seeing now is it's always been an apathy for Star Wars. And I do believe, I did a podcast about this over a year ago now. Maybe closer to... No, Blitz transmissions haven't even been around for 2 years. What am I saying closer to 2 years? It was probably over a year ago, though, where I said... that I did a podcast episode early on about fandom fatigue, and that was kind of the term that I gave it, and that's something that I do believe is still the case. Like, I've been at points with fandom, whether it's Black Series or Star Wars at large or, you know, other things, where I feel like it's getting too watered down. That was kind of how I was feeling, especially, I know a lot of fans can agree, with the Disney Plus era. Everything was getting so watered down and it was so oversaturated that I felt like I couldn't even really be passionate and enjoy each Star Wars project, because by the time I finished one, the next one was coming out. And there were even times in the Disney Plus era where Star Wars shows were overlapping each other. And there was times, I remember on 1313 podcast, we were getting together and doing 2 podcasts a week. One on The Mandalorian Season 3 as it was coming out, and one on The Bad Batch Season 3 as it was coming out, but also just our general like news and you know, topics and rumors and all that stuff. And so but that was the short form social media. It's just dump, content. People aren't even able to keep up with you. And that is where it kind of spirals out of control to the point now where people are getting fandom fatigue. That, I think, is independent of what I'm talking about in this here. Because what happens with this is the content creators only care about growing the social media numbers. They're going to follow the social media trends. The viewers, most times, don't know and don't care to know that that is the objective of the content creator. What you see a lot of times, especially in the Star Wars fandom, and this has always been a thing, people love to regurgitate. They'll see a big channel or a name with a lot of followers have a certain take or a certain opinion. They'll turn around and just start regurgitating that in comment sections on all different platforms. And it becomes this like parroted talking point that people just give you over and over and over. The other thing with social media, and this is something they did teach in my class that I took in college, was that you build yourself into an echo chamber inadvertently, because what the social media platform's algorithm has always done, this has never changed, is it feeds you things that you engage with more. It looks at what you've engaged with based on hashtags, now based on AI, and it will go, okay, well, I'll put this in the recommended because they're more likely to watch this, they're more likely to comment, they're more likely to engage with it, whether it's like or dislike. And it builds this echo chamber. You're not actually being exposed to the entire narrative of, you know, the good and the bad. You're just being exposed to one or the other. So what I've noticed is that with Star Wars content, with The Mandalorian and Grogu, there's been a couple talking points that I see over and over again. Such as, like, oh, it's just an extended episode of The Mandalorian. Why does that have to be a bad thing? Oh, it's pretty inconsequential to the overarching story. There was nothing lore challenging. Why does that have to be a bad thing? You're adding emotion and assumption to just a basic opinion. And that's the thing, though, is these content creators are saying these things. Half the time they don't even believe what they're saying, but they want to grow the social media numbers. So they're saying and doing things to grow the numbers and being dishonest and being deceitful, and then people that watch the videos take what they say, because I've said this for a long time, believe it or not, as a content creator, people look at you as a voice of authority and a voice of information. What is your point of information? That is a very deep cut. social media reference. Let me know if you got that one. You probably won't. That's like such a oddly specific one. But I think it was that Chicago City Councilman, if I remember right. But he passed away. But anyway, I totally threw myself off there. What I was getting at though was there's people that take what these content creators say seriously, and they're going to turn around and go into comment sections and they're going to regurgitate that. And it becomes difficult for us to have intelligent discourse as fans, and because you're just regurgitating someone else's opinion rather than forming your own. You guys know on Blitz Transmissions, especially if you watch the Blitzcast, I have brought this up time and time again. You're probably like, here he goes again. He's going to beat the dead horse. But I think it's an important point. You need to form your own opinion. Just because I'm saying something, if you disagree with me, I encourage you to engage in my Discord and talk, think about it, think critically. Engage with people you disagree with. Have a thoughtful discourse. Don't create and engage in this tribalism that's been created in not just Star Wars, all of fandom. And whether it's the scale wars of TVC versus Black Series, or whether it's the new media slop film bros versus the shills, you are more than likely somewhere in the middle. You don't fall into one of these absolute camps. It's like American politics. Everybody thinks that you could just fit into a box. And if I give you this label, then you fit into this box. And if I give you this label, then therefore I can give you these 10 other labels. No, we're all individuals, guys. Let's make that very clear. If you have an opinion, that's your opinion. Share it. Don't just regurgitate what you see on social media, because you have to go into it knowing that most of what you see on social media is smoke and mirrors. When it comes to The Mandalorian and Grogu, half of these people don't care to see the movie. They don't care. They're not going to see the movie, not because I'm not questioning whether they're a Star Wars fan or not, because their objective is just to make content about not liking the movie. They don't have to see the movie to make content about not liking the movie and grow their social media numbers through that. They don't have to spend a penny to sit and throw up clips of different movies and TV shows and say inflammatory things behind a camera and then, get hundreds of thousands of views off it. That doesn't take critical thinking, So that is where I think it's important. I think it's important to point all this out. Guys, it's okay for Star Wars to be fun. It is 100% okay for not everything to be Andor or Maul Shadow Lord or something that's super dark and gritty like the Umbara arc of the Clone Wars. We love those projects and they stand out, but Star Wars is so unique as an IP that it can simultaneously have things like the Ewok Adventure movies, which I loved as a kid. I don't like them at all as an adult. And things like Skeleton Crew and The Mandalorian and Grogu, and the Clone Wars movie, which are just fun family experiences for Star Wars, and then simultaneously have the more adult-focused, grittier things. This is the other point, and this is going to be a shorter episode, again, just for my time constraints. This is something that I really want to bring up. I think we've also lost sight of what Star Wars was always meant to be, and what Star Wars always used to be. There was a point in time where we, who are the same now adult content creators who, in many cases, haven't experienced much hardship and haven't experienced real life yet, are having all these strong opinions about what Star Wars should be. Do you not remember what made you a Star Wars fan when you were a child? Most Star Wars fans became Star Wars fans when they were kids. And whether it was because of the original 3 movies, the prequel movies, the Clone Wars, Rebels, The Bad Batch, Book of Boba Fett, you name it, it's not because of how peak it was. It's because of how it made you feel. It's because of the feeling that it evoked in you, most likely as a child, and brought you into this fandom, made you obsessed with Star Wars. This goes for all fandom, not just Star Wars, but I'm speaking specifically about this one IP that this whole channel is about. It was always meant to be, and that's why a lot of people criticize George Lucas for his quote, Star Wars is for 12-year-olds. Yeah, it always was. And I would argue things like Andor are not. I think if I was 12, I probably would have enjoyed Andor, but nowhere near as much. I could say that now even. It's still for 12-year-olds. Andor is something that's more for adults, but I feel like I would have enjoyed when I was in middle school. But I definitely would have enjoyed Clone Wars more. I definitely would have enjoyed The Mandalorian more. I definitely enjoyed Attack of the Clones more. That doesn't mean that from an adult standpoint, those are objectively better, but those keep in mind what Star Wars the target is for Star Wars. Oh, it was inconsequential and the good guys won in The Mandalorian and Grogu. It would have been more impactful if Din Djarin died. It would have been... That's not what they're trying to do with this movie. That's not what it was trying to be. It wasn't trying to tell the story that Maul Shadowlord was trying to tell. And guess what? Maul Shadowlord was about bad guys versus worse guys. Darth Maul should not be your moral compass figure. And that's what I think Maul Shadowlord did an excellent job of telling. But that's why people always ask, why isn't there a Darth Vader focused story? Why isn't there this? Why isn't there that? Because that's not what you want to teach kids. That's not what you want kids you think kids are stupid? No, but kids are very easily influenced by what's around them. And if you're surrounding them with stories about morally ambiguous characters and, there's no good versus evil, that's why people love The Lord of the Rings. That's why people love superheroes. Because you have these good characters that struggle. And there's some that are infallibly good, but you have characters that are real that struggle. And they deal with the struggle. That is why people attach themselves, especially as kids, without even realizing it, to these characters and to these stories. The Mandalorian and Grogu is that for this generation. This generation that's growing up with Star Wars. This is that for them. And yes, there's fun aliens, and there's jokes, and there's lightheartedness. That is what it's meant to be. Do you not remember that silly little scene in A New Hope where Han is trying to trick the Imperial officer over the intercom? Do you not remember Han's jokes all throughout Empire Strikes Back? Do you not remember all the silly little things that Jar Jar does in The Phantom Menace? That's because it's targeted for kids. It's to evoke that feeling. Star Wars, it's okay for Star Wars to be fun. Star Wars is an IP where we can have both. We can have the gritty stories that are pointed towards adults, but I think what's happened is all these content creators have helped to, and not helped in a good way, they've assisted in this narrative that these IPs are meant for adults. That's not what Star Wars is. And that's what turned off a whole generation from the prequel trilogy back in 1999. Fans had to come to the realization that Star Wars isn't growing up with you. It's teaching Star Wars to a new generation. Look how passionate the prequel trilogy generation of fans is. I would argue it's just as passionate as the original trilogy fan generation. The way that we know the species of every alien, the name of every planet, the inner workings of the different vehicles. That you say a name of a Glupshido Jedi, I could tell you exactly who you're referencing and draw you a brief little sketch of the general figure of that character, just like someone who grew up knowing the name of every single Cantina alien and Jabba Palace denizen. It's no different when it comes to every Jedi that sits on the Jedi Council or every single clone trooper in the Clone Wars with a unique paint design. It's all the same. It's the same kinds of things with different eras of Star Wars. So that, as brief as this Blitzcast episode is, I would love to dive further into this conversation. But that is the point I really want to drive home, guys. It's okay for Star Wars to be fun. And social media has, through the selfishness of and the deceitful nature of social media, I believe that it needs to be acknowledged. Like, those things need to be acknowledged. so that you can help develop your own opinion and just enjoy things. It's okay to just enjoy something. I don't have to argue to you why I enjoy something. If I enjoy it, I enjoy it. It's not my job to explain to you and justify why I enjoy a movie or a TV show. If you want to have the opinion that you don't like, if you don't like it, you don't like it. If you want to have the opinion that it's slop and it's for kids, that's fine. That's your opinion. But to go around and act like it's therefore a bad thing, that it's for kids, and inherently by saying it's slop, that's what you're saying, it's inherently a bad thing, that is where I have the disconnect. So I wanted to point that out. That's my topic this week on the Blitzcast. I hope that this was engaging for you guys. Let me know what you think. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Let me know in the comments down below. Of course, again, one more plug. I'll see you guys later this week at ICCCon 2026. I'm very excited. Very, very excited. We're going to head down there. I'll be down there from Thursday to Monday. So make sure to hit me up if you guys are going down there. We can hang out. We can do whatever. And with that, I also have stickers. I don't know where they are. I have business cards. Blitz Transmissions business cards here. I also have stickers. I don't know where they are. I'll have to locate them. But with that, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Blitzcast. I'll catch you for the next one, and may the Force be with you.
Breaking off. All units, fire at will. 1-2, pick your targets. Too many, Captain. Watch your stabilizer, Gold 6. Anybody cover me. I got 2 vultures on my tail. You've got to hold them here. Watch your left. I can't shake them. I'm hit. Where's the reinforcement?